Howdy, folks. It is us. We are Sako and the Moon Horror Podcast. And today we are reviewing Angel Heart 1987. And I have with me D.L. Hearn. Yay! And I'm Sako too. And we are Sako and the Moon. So we have this 4-star system that we use.
Full stop. I'm also very thirsty.
Me too.
I just suddenly need like a lot of water. Plus, I have this Stranger's cup.
That's awesome.
I want to get my money's worth out of it. So,
hell yeah.
Though I didn't spend any money on it, it was a gift. So. But yeah, 4-star system based on 4 categories of exploration of the story. We have writing, characterization, production, and theme. And if that sounds out of order, it's because it is.
It is.
We've changed the order on how we're going to do this, because we were just talking about this before we went live, that sometimes it's been that we've gone half hour into the show before we even told you what the movie was about. And it's like none of the things make sense to someone who hasn't watched the movie, which we always suggest that you watch the movie for your own opinion. Don't just trust us. I mean, we're dope, but don't just trust us.
Yeah.
Oh, and there will be spoilers. Yeah, I'm going to tell this whole story. We're supposed to have our guest from last week, Marie Wood. She may pop in later. We don't know. If she does, she'll join us. If not, this review is for you. This is the episode. This is the suggestion from the episode from last week. If you haven't seen that episode, you should go back and do so.
It's a great episode.
And she's so much fun. She is so insightful when it comes to horror. I'd love any chance to talk to El Marie. She's so great. So yeah, let's get into writing and tell you what this movie is actually about. We meet a private detective, a private eye, who is Harold Angel, and he is hired by some guy named Cypher to find a guy. He's looking for Johnny Favorite, also known as, what was his real name? Hold on.
Leapling.
Thank you. I didn't write that down. We're just going to call him Johnny Favorite because none of the rest of the stuff actually matters. There's actually a lot of information that kind of doesn't matter in this movie. But here's the story. So the deal is Cypher tells Angel, the private eye, that Johnny Favorite owes him something. And he's trying to like skip out on the deal. And so he's like, I've been told he's dead, but I don't believe it. Can you figure this out for me? And he's like, yeah, I can figure it out. So he goes on this wild goose chase looking for Johnny Favorite. He looks at the asylum where he was supposed to be kept. Not there. Doctor lied about it. Shortly after he is confronted by Harold Angel, Doc ends up dead. This happens a lot. A clue leads to a person. The person gets interviewed or gets talked to and then ends up dead. This starts off in New York. This goes down to New Orleans. If you think that because we're in New Orleans, there's going to be some voodoo-y stuff going on, you're right. And that goes on for a while.
I have a thing about chickens. Yeah.
He has a thing about chickens, which ultimately means nothing. He just reacts when chicken stuff is around. The police in New Orleans start to notice the dead bodies are piling up. One of them actually had his name and address in his hand when he died. So they started looking at him as a suspect. This goes on and on and on and continues and continues and continues up until the end, where things crescendo and there's a final conversation with Harold Angel and Kurtzmark, who happens to be the guy who took Johnny Favorite out of the asylum 12 years ago prior. Side note, this is in 1955. This will be important later in this conversation. So this is 1955 that all these things are taking place. Talking to Kurtzmark, he says his daughter, who was one woman who was just talked to earlier, had this thing with voodoo and such, and getting to the dark arts, and had talked to this Johnny Favorite guy who was trying to escape the devil and outsmart the devil, and turns out that Johnny put his soul into another guy's body. What was the name of that guy? Harold Angel. This guy, the private eye, has been the guy we were looking for the entire time. Mm-hmm. Lucifer seemed to know that. It was just like
Mephistopheles. Yeah.
He was Louis Cypher. Lucifer. And basically the devil was just fucking with this kid for like a while. And then he reclaims his soul. Johnny accidentally fucks his daughter earlier in the movie, played by Lisa Bonet. And that's where we are. That's the story. In a nutshell. There are so many things in this movie that are, after having watched it, I'm so confused. Everybody is after Harold Angel, and I'm not 100% sure why. You had, like, mind you, this is 1955, so it's logical to separate it this way. There's like a group of black dudes that are after him and a group of white dudes that are after him. I think the white dudes work for Kurtzmark, and they're trying to like get this guy off the trail from finding Johnny Favorite. Mm-hmm. Too many conversations. The black dudes were part of this church, which seemed kind of shady, but not really shady. Like there was nothing actually shady, just kind of weird. And they just keep getting mad at him. They keep fighting, and we're just inciting chase scenes here at this point. In all fairness, a really good chase scene. They're chasing through, like, he goes into a church. He's about to talk to this lady who he kind of sees around a lot, cloaked in black. Dudes come up behind him, start fighting him. He fights them back. He runs away. We do a big chase scene through the church, out a window, through a backyard, through a parade where the pastor of the church is being held up on like a little Roman Caesar's chair or whatever, and knocks him over, and everyone stops to help him while the dude gets away. Pretty good chase scene. I'm not gonna lie, that was pretty good.
Not gonna lie, it's pretty good. Yeah,
that was fun. That's the story in a nutshell. Harold Angel is Johnny Favorite. He doesn't realize this until he's, confronted with that at the end. And there we are.
How do we feel about the dialogue? I think it's good enough for a period piece. Like,
it was. And one thing I appreciated about this movie was this is 1955. But
they used a lot of stuff from like the 20s and 30s.
Well, I mean, you kind of had to, because that's what it was still relevant post-war. There's a lot of references to the war. The war is in 41. At least the reference points are in 41. And it's taking place in 1955. There are some references as we get to Louisiana, like the colored section of the bus. And, but what I was saying is I really appreciated how as much as we recognize that this is the time frame, it doesn't make it as part of the story. um, him being white or this person being black or this, that, and the third doesn't ultimately impact the story, and it's surprisingly missing from most of the dialogue. I think there was one scene where Harold is talking to one of the cops, and that's made like there's a comment there, but the language used is, I wouldn't even say offensive.
Yeah.
It would be like a nice way of saying it for the time. You know, like if you had a white dude in Louisiana who just didn't want to deal with black people, this is how he would talk. He doesn't hate them. He just says like, let him stay over there. And like he's just about as nice as you could expect a white dude to talk in the South about a black person in 1955. So the fact that you had the option of making this a part of the story and you didn't, you had the option of making this part of the dialogue and you didn't, it really makes me kind of like survey my thoughts on certain terms used in period pieces. Obviously, there are going to be some cases where it's necessary or at least it's relevant. I'm looking at you, Django Unchained. Tarantino got a lot of shit for that.
Yeah.
DiCaprio almost shit himself because of that. Imagine you have to say the N-word in a room with Samuel L. Jackson and Jamie Foxx. I'm black. I wouldn't do it. But point here is the dialogue was not, and I don't mean this culturally, but it wasn't as racy as it could have been, which I guess you could take both ways. As far as everything else is concerned, I think dialect worked. The folks in New York talking to other folks in New York sounded like people from New York talking to people in New York. And yeah, I don't have an issue with that at all.
Indiana was somewhat similar.
Yeah, like Creole Cajun talk, periodically talking to somebody in French. Yeah, that checked. That checked out.
Like when he was asked, "Hey, do you speak French?" And he's like, "I'm from Brooklyn."
Yeah. And then you had the white woman who was talking to her black maidservant, talk to her in French. It actually makes sense. So yeah, I don't know. I'm down with the dialogue and the language used. I think everything made sense. As far as what they were saying, nothing was super out of term, out of weird. I feel like when we're getting to the end of things and for all the necessary information is coming up at the end, when Mr. Kurtz Mark was talking to Harold, I think it got weird there, and it sounded like a writer who was trying to get all the information out.
World building at the end, yeah,
trying to get it all out at the end to explain the story. It felt rushed. It felt like a writer didn't know how else to otherwise implement it. Had the idea and just it was weird because there was the one part where he goes, "Who was the boy? Who was the boy?" And I'm like, I don't know if that's the question I would have asked. Harold seemed like he was physically ill at one point, and after everything he has seen and done and said, I feel like it wasn't just the words making him feel that way. Like the words shouldn't have made him feel that way that late in the story.
Well, they mentioned that his stomach isn't feeling so hot at the beginning of that scene.
Yeah, and I took that initially as just a nice way of saying I don't want to eat whatever you're cooking. Like if I went to somebody's house and I'm trying to be polite and they're like, "Hey, we just made dinner," and it's like frog rabbit stew. We picked up some roadkill rabbit on the way home and we made a stew out of it. Would you like a bowl? I'm like, ooh, my stomach's been bothering me all day. I'm not trying to really eat a whole lot today, so I'll pass. I feel like that's what that. I felt like that's what that was, because he was dismissive at times, like, no, I really don't want to do that. Because he had
It
work.
was something that the dude said that made him.
Yeah, and again, and I get that that's where we're supposed to see it. To me, it just didn't work. I feel like he's already seen the dead bodies throughout the course of the story. So hearing how somebody got like cut open and their heart taken out, you've seen like 3 dead bodies by now.
Mhm.
Like, this shouldn't upset your stomach. This shouldn't make you queasy. You should have been queasy every time you saw a dead body. If we're going to describe a dead body and you get sick, you see what I mean?
I was curious about the chopping out of the heart. Oh, hold on. I was curious about the chopping out of the heart and the um, pounding of the heart pulsating
So
throughout.
loud that you could hear it. Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever he was really in a really tense situation, like he's about to find a body.
Right. Now, mind you, this is probably supposed to like tie back into something, but we find out that the real Herald Angel got his heart cut out by Johnny Favorite. So I don't know if it's like a mental thing, if it's like a weird spiritual thing, because there, like, you think back on it, there was no heart to be beating.
Mm-hmm.
Herald Angel shouldn't have a heart because, according to the story, Johnny Favorite cut out the original Herald Angel's heart, ate it, took it out so quickly that it was still thumping when he ate it, and then put himself, the spirit of Johnny Favorite, into the body of Herald Angel, and that's who's been walking around this whole time. So there shouldn't be a heart in that body at all. So what's thumping? I don't know.
Yeah. And where's our guest so that he can like argue with us?
I feel like we are missing something, and it may be a second viewing necessary. Maybe even like a revisit of this at some point when we can get Lisa. The next time I talk to Lisa, I'm definitely going to have to ask questions about Angel Heart. I'm waiting for her to just like watch the review and be in the comments, be like, what he really meant was. Look, I'm looking forward to the comments. If you've seen Angel Heart and you understand this better than we do, feel free to come back and leave a comment or write the show at Sako and the Moon Podcast at gmail.com.
Yes. Also, if it doesn't allow you to make comments, let us know.
You should be able to comment by now. I think we figured that out.
Because I have to go into each file and adjust
That's
it.
That's weird that you have to adjust it like that for each
The
one.
The default is no comments.
Which is weird because mine isn't. Like for my other shows.
My other accounts. It's
strange.
Yeah.
So we've talked about 20 minutes. How do you feel about the plot pacing? And ultimately, are we giving it a star for writing?
I'm going to say yes.
I agree. I don't see anything wrong. Maybe not as well executed as I would have liked. I maybe would have liked a third of the puzzle given early, a
Mm-hmm.
quarter, like the second third given shortly after the middle, and then right at the end, or at the, I guess the climax, the whole story put together, maybe recontextualized, kind of thing. But again, not every story has to be written the way I want it to. So all things considered, I can't fault it. It didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
So I can give it a star for writing.
Okay. Let's talk about characterization. Okay, so within characterization, we talk about the casting, the consistency or evolution, and the POV.
Yeah.
So, the casting, Mickey Rourke when he was a spring chicken.
Who looked like Lin-Manuel Miranda. The amount of times I watched this movie, I was watching this and like, I'm like, why is Hamilton over here running around Louisiana looking for some voodoo crooner?
Or
Because
something.
he looked like Lin-Manuel Miranda. He did.
I didn't think he did, but
I thought he did. And then of course hearing him talk like a New Yorker, it's like it's the same guy. It's the same guy. Which there's no real reason why either of those two should look. Maybe the problem is me. Um, but no, Rourke as Angel was fine. He did the job well. I thought the overacting with the "Who was the boy? Who was the boy?" that was a little bit overacted, but
that was a bit much, yeah.
that was more of a directing thing than it is a Mickey Rourke thing.
Mm.
I like the cast, honestly.
Yeah, me too.
Um,
Epiphany
you know,
was super hot.
always Lisa Bonet. So
Mhm.
the oldest Huxtable, if you will.
Oh, I didn't even make the connection.
Yeah,
Jeez.
Lisa Bonet. So like the older sister, the light skinned sister that like already had moved out or whatever. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's Lisa Bonet. Um, she let's see, 87. So this would have been around that same time, either maybe right before she did Cosby, the Cosby Show,
Maybe.
the Cosby Show. What time did the Cosby? When did the Cosby Show start? When did that air?
To the internet.
Well, no, 84. The last episode was in 92. So this would have been like during the Cosby Show time, during the time of the Cosby Show. So she would have been a household name. I feel like she wasn't an everyday character. She wasn't there as often as Theo or uh, Rudy, uh, but she was the oldest daughter. But yeah, she was looked great in this movie, and I feel like all the characters outside of Angel were literally secondary, but
That was
none of
kind of
them,
the point.
yeah, but none of them made as much of an impact as Angel. And so, like, who played them or how well they were played almost didn't matter, with the
Yeah.
possible exception of Epiphany, played by Lisa Bonet,
Mm-hmm.
who is the daughter of Johnny Favorite. Her mother was with Johnny Favorite before all the soul switching happened. And then at some point, she sleeps with Harold Angel. And it turns out Harold Angel is Johnny Favorite. So gross. Um, I got nothing else. How do you feel about the evolution of Harold Angel?
I, being possessed uh, by a different soul kind of appeals to me as far as like a story is concerned.
Because that's a really
So,
weird sentence.
mm, uh, Yeah, so I think his growth was janky, especially during the climax.
How how do you feel he evolved? Because I see it a little differently.
Well, they mentioned that he had amnesia.
Yeah. See, I feel like there was no real change in Angel until Angel found out that Angel wasn't Angel and he was really Johnny Favorite.
Yeah.
Can we talk about these names for a second?
I can talk about, so let's see here.
Like, whose last name is Favorite?
Johnny Favorite's real name was Liebling, which is commonly used in German as sweetheart or darling or angel, but its secondary meaning is favorite.
Okay, I can let that one slide. Wine Sap. Mm-hmm.
Probably.
Louis Cipher. That's clever in the most not clever way. Um, and Harold Angel. I guess you kind of like excused that with Libra. And then
Liebling. Yeah.
Cruise Mark. What is the background of? Because I even wrote a note like as they're naming everybody and Toot Sweet and Pound Foot and I'm like, what is up with these names? So my notes that I put on there, I was like, what is up with these names?
Mm-hmm. What is up with these names?
The most normal
Uh,
name was Ed Kelly.
yep.
And Epiphany and Toot Sweet. And there was a poem referenced in this also,
Yes.
but I didn't look it up. Actually, I did
Uh,
look it up, but I just didn't make any notes on it.
mm. So do we, and obviously the POV was Angel.
Right. I mean, we're seeing everything happen in front of Angel by Angel and from his perspective. And I will say not Johnny favorites because it turns out in the end, again, spoilers, it turns out in the end, these people who happen to be dying in his wake were actually being killed by him. We find this out in the very end that he's like not completely there, so sort of an um, unreliable narrator, and he's the one committing these murders in his
Mm-hmm.
own wake. So he's telling on himself, which is wild.
Yeah, he kind of had all the flashbacks as he remembers what Mr. Cipher tells him. And um,
Louis Cipher. I want to go through and find all the movies where we just have some weird variation of Lucifer for the devil character. Like, how many creative ways have people?
yeah, exactly. That sounds like fun.
I feel like it's
Um,
a side project I'll have to do somewhere.
mm, okay, so a star for characterization? Question mark?
Casting was fine. Evolution was kind of meh, but he was consistent throughout the movie.
Mhm.
Um, and the point of view makes sense for the story that they're telling. So yeah, I guess so.
Dun dun dun. 2 stars. All right. Production. Uh, we got art direction, makeup and props, and cinematography. Though I feel like cinematography and art direction are so closely related.
They are, but there's a lot of some things have to do with like camera angle, and some things have more to do with like set design, uh,
Or,
color
yeah.
scheme, or the energy gone towards the way things look, as opposed to how things are necessarily shot. Um,
Okay, I'll give you that.
and I feel like taking into consideration that this is 1987, right? This is 1987. We're looking at how things are in 1955, New York and New Orleans.
Mhm.
I think that was reflected in sort of the old school color grading. It looked like a movie from the 80s.
Yeah.
Um, and I guess that's because it was a movie from the 80s. Surprise, surprise. Um, with that in mind, yeah, yeah, I mean, it's fine. Nothing really notable, nothing
What?
offensive, nothing stood out. There was nothing that grabbed my attention aesthetically. There was nothing that drew my attention uh, color wise, nothing that stood out with the use of uh, shadows or angles. Um, kudos to the cameraman keeping up with the chase scenes.
Mm.
Give him that. Uh,
Um,
Nothing stands out really.
I kind of liked the noir kind of vibe,
Yeah.
and kind of like weaving that into the the Baton Rouge, New Orleans sort of culture.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess so. I'm making the connection between the chickens and Harry.
Please do. Is it like the voodoo thing? Like when he had the. So when Toot Sweet was about to die, and as a wrestling fan, that's so hard for me to say because we have this thing where we go too sweet, you know, sort of the click New World Order, which I'm wearing a New World Order shirt.
Hmm.
Um, I just happened to pick it out of the closet. But we have it's too sweet. So I keep wanting to say too sweet. Everyone I'm saying toot sweet. TOOTS.
Toot, toot, sweet.
It's plural toot. It's like imagine there's more than one toot, but it was covered in
Toots.
sugar. The toot's sweet. Um, so yeah, when he was talking about he saw a chicken foot in the bathroom when he was being confronted by Angel, and he's like, "What is this?" And it's like, "I'm talking too much." It was like a sign that he was about to get like he was to be silenced. And if that was part of a ritual thing, I guess that would make sense as to why he doesn't like chickens. But then again, it doesn't actually come into play at all.
I think it's a subplot that they could have run with.
They could have done something more with that.
The only hint that would have that my theory would work is the dancing in the woods with the chicken and the sacrifice and all of that. So, which made him super uncomfortable. And yeah, so maybe And the chicken plays a huge part in the dance, right?
Yeah.
And is the sacrifice. So the the fear of chickens could be linked to that. If he
I'll
has if he has trauma from having his heart ripped out and all of that, you
I'll
know.
allow it, but how did you feel about the chicken blood since you're Mrs. Blood and we're talking about her design and production?
It was fine.
How did you
Like,
feel about the voodoo ritual?
um, if I knew more, I could speak a little more truthfully, but
Where's Don Guillory when I need him?
I know, right?
Don, if you ever
Uh,
catch wind of this, we need you on the show. I have questions. Actually, funny enough, I got to contact Don Guillory about something anyway.
oh, okay.
Future projects.
Oh.
If I can talk him into it.
Okay, so cinematography was very um I'm trying to come up with the right word. Like, I mean, typical Hollywood, I suppose.
Typical Hollywood. Yeah. That's kind of where I was like, I feel like everything was as it was expected to be. There was nothing flashy, nothing complicated, nothing um no one really went above and beyond to do anything artistic, which is not required.
The closest thing they came were the opening credits.
I don't even remember the opening credits.
It did not set the tone for the rest of the movie, which is kind of what the opening scene is for. It's supposed to be um, foreshadowing for stuff that happens
Something.
later.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something. Like I said before, like there was nothing that stood out, nothing that like grabbed my attention. It was Hollywood standard. Again, does it have to? No, it doesn't. This is not a requirement. And typically, I don't vote against it if it's Hollywood standard.
Mm.
Because not every movie calls for it. Not every movie has to be wild blues and oranges and color combinations. Not every movie has to do that. We don't need weird moonlighting coming from this way, despite the light source coming this way, and it adds the spooky. No one needs all that all the time.
I'm
It's
curious.
great when it's done, and I love to critique it when it is. It just isn't done here. It's just a Hollywood standard movie.
Yeah. But that's par for the course where Robert De Niro is you know, involved.
So yeah, I have no issue. I have also nothing else to add.
So production, is there a star? I'm gonna say no.
You're voting no?
I'm voting no.
I don't typically vote against Hollywood standard, so I'm going to vote yes. But that just gives us a half star. So
That gives us a half star. Yeah. Uh,
because I have nothing to argue with you on. Normally, this is where, for those new to the show, this is where if Sako had voted for it and I didn't, Sako would try to like convince me to change my vote, or vice versa. And I have nothing to argue with. Like it's Hollywood standard. There's nothing flashy, nothing fancy. Kind of goes in whichever direction you feel about it. So a half star is what it is.
Under theme, have message, tone, and trivia. So the message, I don't know, devils have their own motives.
Um,
He,
don't make a deal with the devil will collect.
the devil will collect. Yeah.
That's what this ultimately was. Johnny Favorite was this guy who wanted to be famous, and he made a deal with the devil. And Johnny thought that he was smart enough to outsmart the devil, which is what this whole plot was. The Johnny Angel or the Herald Angel thing
Mm-hmm.
was his way of trying to hide from the devil. And Lucifer was there to collect. That's why he hired Angel in the first place, because that was the property that Johnny had of his. It was Johnny's soul. So the only message I drag from this is like, don't make a deal with the devil will collect.
Well put.
Which I guess is a good allegory. Some people want to sacrifice, maybe not sell their souls literally, but there are a lot of times when a person, for the sake of a benefit, will stab friends and family in the back, or they'll do criminal behavior to try to get ahead. And if you want to look at that message in such a light, um, your scheming ways will come back to haunt you. Your nefarious actions will come back to bite you in the ass.
Karma works.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
beware of the deal you make with the devil, because he will collect. So I guess, pretty good, solid theme, odd way of telling it, but solid theme.
The tone and the mood was very crime noir meets voodoo.
Yeah.
And, well, how Hollywood would handle
True.
voodoo.
Yeah, the Serpent in the Rainbow was much better with the voodoo stuff. Underappreciated movie, The Serpent in the Rainbow.
Mm.
But it was really more of a crime thriller.
Uh-huh.
It's a crime thriller. It's good. A good where is
It's a
Johnny
crime.
Favorite?
It's a crime thriller with supernatural aspects. I think it's the
Yeah.
supernatural aspects that make it horror.
Yeah. Yeah.
So trivia. Writer and director Sir Alan Parker claims that Robert De Niro's performance as Louis Cypher was so eerie and realistic that he generally avoided him during his scenes, letting him just direct himself.
Okay.
So that was basically ad-libbed. Singer Johnny Everett's real name is Liebling. We said that one. Robert De Niro's performance as Louis Cypher is supposedly based on his friend and frequent collaborator Martin Scorsese.
I don't know what that says about your friend. If you're like, I'm gonna pattern the devil after you. Like if someone's like, yeah, man, I thought about my friend Moon when I was thought about how to portray the devil. I'm like, all right. Okay. Sure. Okay. Tell me how you really feel.
Yeah. So that, do we give it a star for the theme? I'm gonna say yes.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing to argue.
No, and again, it's a common message, a common theme, that the devil will come and collect. You will pay for your sins one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
You can't outrun karma, can't outrun fate. However you phrase it, think of it, place it, you will reap what you sow. And I think that's ultimately the theme here.
Reaping and sowing.
reaping and
Yeah.
sowing.
Yeah. All right. Well, tomorrow we are airing our interview with Brian Haas,
Mm-hmm.
who is a film critic and mostly for horror and
Mm-hmm.
um, wrestling and a bunch of. He's a
Yeah,
super smart guy. Super smart guy.
big wrestling fan. I've had him on my wrestling podcast before a couple times. Uh, Brian, great guy. Uh, he, along with myself and yourself, will be next week at the Imaginarium. So this is very important. If you're catching this right now, um, Imaginarium is July 17th to the 19th. The 17th is a day that we would normally broadcast. We're going to be busy with the con, so there may not be an episode next week. But who knows what we're going to do, and who knows who we're going to be around. So if someone has a camera and someone has a microphone, you might just get a random feed from Sako and the Moon. I suggest that you go ahead while liking this video and subscribing to this channel. Hit that notification bell just in case you get a surprise, unscheduled episode of something. Us talking to someone at Imaginarium. Sometimes
Yeah.
we do, sometimes we don't. It's a lot going on this year, so I would definitely turn on that notification for this weekend because it may be Friday, it may be Saturday. It could be something Sunday. Who knows who we're going to end up talking to, and you're going to want to be there for that raw mid-conference type of vibe that Imaginarium always gives, and it's going to be some great horror people while we're there. So there might be some shorts. You're definitely going to want to know when we post some things. So the notification bell, definitely this is the time to do it.
And we will catch you guys the week after?
Yeah.
Question mark?
Question mark? Probably though. Yeah.
And
So yeah,
we
until
will
then.
talk about, yeah, until then, we'll catch you guys later.
Later.
On the dark side of the moon. Ha ha ha.
Ha ha.
Ha
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 ha ha. Every side's the dark side of the moon when you're black.